my dear students. How are you? I hope all are you good. Welcome back to another class. Today, let we start English chapter number 6, Black Beauty. The first place that I can well remember was a pleasant meadow with a pond of clear water in it. Over the hatch on one side, we looked into a plot field, and on the other, we looked over a gate at our master's house. मतलब कौन कह रहा है? ये एक घोड़ा कह रहा है कि एक बहुत अच्छी जगह थी। मुझे याद है पहले जो मेरी जगह थी, एक तरफ खेत थे, एक तरफ मेरे मास्टर का यानी कि मेरे मालिक का घर था। We stood by the roadside. While I was young, I lived upon my mother's milk as I could not eat grass. जब मैं छोटा बच्चा था तो मैं अपनी मम्मा का दूध पीता था, मैं घास नहीं खाता था। In the daytime, I ran by her side, and at night, I lay down close by her. When it was hot, we used to stand by the pond in the shade of the trees, and when it was cold, we had a warm shed near the grove. ठीक है, अब क्या होता था, दिन में जो है मैं उनके साइड में खड़ा होता था और रात में मतलब उनकी गोदी में मैं छिपके सोता था। जब गर्मी होती थी तो मैं तालाब में वहाँ छाया में वहाँ पे पानी के तालाब में खड़ा हो जाता था पेड़ की छाया में। और जब ठंडी होती थी तो मैं जो है वार्म शेड नियर द ग्रो, जो गर्म मतलब धूप थी उसके नीचे आ जाता था। There were 6 young colts in the meadow beside me. They were older than I was. I used to run with them and had great fun. So we used to gallop all together round the field as hard as we could go. Sometimes we had rather a play for the wood bite and kick as well as gallop. One day when there was a good deal of kicking, my mother went to me to come to her, and then she said, I wish you to pay attention to what I am going to say. है ना, मेरी इच्छा है कि तुम उन चीजों पे ध्यान दो, उस बातों पे जो मैं तुमसे कह रही हूँ. The colts who lived here are very good colts, but they are cart horse colt and they have not learned manners. So you have been well bred and well born. Your father has a great name in these parts. Okay, and your grandfather won the cup at the races. तुम्हारे grandfather जो थे वो दौड़ में कप जीतते थे. ठीक है, your grandmother had the sweetest temper of any horse I ever knew, and I think you have never seen me kick or bite. I hope you will grow up gentle and good and never learn bad ways. Do your work with a good will. Lift your feet up well when you trot and never bite or kick even in play. I have never forgotten my mother's advice. I knew she was a wise old horse and our master thought a great deal of her. Her name was Duchess, but he called her Pat. Our master was a good, kind man. He gave us good food, good lodging, and kind words. He spoke as kindly to us as he did to his little children. We were all fond of him, and my mother loved him very much. When she saw him at the gate, she would neigh with joy and trot up too. He would pat and stroke her and say, well, old Patton, how is your little darky? I was a dull black, so he called me darky. Then he would give me a piece of bread, which was very good, and sometimes he brought a carrot for my mother. All the horses would come to him, but I think we were his favorites. My mother always took him to town on a market day in a light gig. We had a ploughboy, Dick, who sometimes came into our field to pluck blackberries from the hatch. When he had eaten all he wanted, he would have what he called fun with the poles, throwing stones and sticks at them to make them gallop. We did not much mind him, for we could gallop off, but sometimes a stone would hit and hurt us. One day he was at this game and did not know that the master was in the next field. Watching what was going on, over the hedge, he jumped in a snap and catching Dick by the arm. He gave him such a box on the ear as made him roar with the pain and surprise. As soon as we saw the master, we trotted up nearer to see what went on. Bad boy, he said. Bad boy, to chase the colts, this is not the first time, but it shall be last. They take your money and go home. I shall not want you on my farm again. So we never saw Dick anymore. Old Daniel The man who looked after the horses was just as gentle as our master, so we were well off. Before I was 2 years old, a circumstance happened which I have never forgotten. It was early in the spring. There had been a little frost in the night, and a light mist still hung over the woods and meadows. I and the other coals were feeding at the lower part of the field when we heard what sounded like the cry of dogs. The oldest of the coals raised his hand, pricked his ears, and said, "So there are the hounds." Okay, and cantered off, followed by the rest of us, to the upper part of the field where we could look over the hedge and see several fields beyond. My mother and an old riding horse of our masters were also standing near and seemed to know all about it. "They have found a hare," said my mother, "and if there's some this way we shall see the hunt." And soon the dogs were all tearing down the field of young wheat next to us. I never heard such a noise as they made. They did not bark or howl, nor whine, but kept on a yo-yo, at the top of their voices. After them came a number of men on horseback, all galloping as fast as they could. Old horses snorted and looked eagerly after them, and we young colts to be galloping with them, but they were soon way away into the fields. Lower down here it seemed is as if they had come to a sty. The dogs left off barking and ran about every way with their noses to the ground. "They have lost the scent," said the old horse. "Perhaps the hare will get off." "What hare?" I said. "Oh, I don't know what hare. Likely enough it may be one of our own hares out of the woods. Any hare they can find will do for the dogs," and meant to run after, and before long the dogs begin their yo-yo again. And black they came all together at full speed, making straight for our meadow at the part where the high bank and hedge overhang the brook. "Now we shall see the hare," said my mother, and just then a hare, wild with fright rushed by and made for the woods. On came the dogs. They burst over the bank, leaped the stream, and came dashing across the field. Followed by the huntsman, several men helped their horses close up on the dogs. A hare tried to get through the fence. It was too thick, and she turned sharp around to make for the road. But it was too late. The dogs were upon her with their wild cries. We heard one strike, and that was the end of her. One of the huntsmen brought up and whipped off the dogs, who would soon have torn her to pieces. He held her up by the leg, torn and bleeding, and all the gentlemen seeing well pleased. As for me, I was so astonished that I did not at first see what was going on by the brook. But when I did look, there was a sad sight. Two fine horses were down. One was struggling in the stream, and the other was groaning on the grass. One of the riders was getting out of the water covered with mud. The other lay quite still. "His neck is broken," said my mother. "And serves him right too," said one of the colts. I thought the same, but my mother did not join with us. "Well, no," she said, "you must not say that, but though I am an old horse and have seen and heard a great deal, I never yet could make out why, men are so fond of his food. They often hurt themselves, often spoil good horses and tear up the fields, and all for a hare, for a fox, or a stag, so that they could get more easily some other ways. But we are only horses and don't go." While my mother was saying this, we stood and looked on. Many of the riders had gone of the young man, but my master was the first to raise him. His head fell back and his arms hung down, and everyone looked very serious. So there was no noise now. Even the dogs were quiet and seemed to know that something was wrong. So they carried him to our master's house. I heard afterwards that it was a squire's only son, a fine tall young man, and the pride of his family. They were now riding in all directions, to the doctors and to Squire Gordon's to let him know about his son. Then Bone came to look at the black horse that lay growing on the grass. He felt him all over and shook his head, and uh, one of his leg was broken. जिसकी एक टांग थी वो टूट गई थी. Then someone went to our master's house and came back with a gun. Presently there was a loud bang and a dreadful shriek, and then all was still. The black horse moved no more. My mother seemed much troubled. She said she had known that horse for years and that his name was Rob Raw. He was a good horse and there was no vice in him. She never would go to that part of the field after lots. Not many days after we heard the church bell tolling for a long time, and looking over the gate we saw a long strange black horse that was covered with black cloth and was drawn by black horses. After that came another and another and another, and all were black. While the bell kept tolling, they were carrying young Gordon to the churchyard to bury him. He would never ride again. What they did with Rob Roy, I never knew, but 'twas all for one little hair. I shall never forget to the first train that ran by. I was waiting quietly near the pales which separated the meadow from the railway when I heard a strange sound at a distance, and before I knew whence it came with a rush and a clatter and a puffing out of smoke, a long black train of something flew by and was gone almost before I could draw my breath. I galloped to the further side of the meadow, and there I stood snorting with astonishment and fear. In the course of the day, many other trains went by. Some more slowly. These drew up at the station close by and sometimes made an awful shriek and groan before they stopped. I thought it very dreadful, but the cows went on eating very quietly. Okay, and hardly raised their hats as the black, frightful thing came puffing and grinding past. For the first few days, I could not fade in peace, but as I found that this terrible creature never came into the field or did me any harm, I began to disregard it, and very soon I cared as little about the passing of a train as the cows and sheep did. Since then, I have seen many horses much alarmed and restive at the sight or sound of a steam engine, but thanks to my good master's care, I am as fearless at railway stations as in many on stable. Now, if anyone wants to break in a young horse, well, that is the way. My master often drove me in double hands with my mother because she was steady and could teach me how to go better than a string horse. She told me the better I behaved, the better I should be treated, and that it was best always to do my best to please my master. I hope you will fall into good hands, but a horse never knows who may buy him or who may drive him. It is all a chance for us, but still I say do your best wherever it is and keep up your good knee. It was early in May when there came a man from Gordon's who took me away to the hall. My master said, "Goodbye, Darky. Be a good horse and always do your best." I could not say goodbye, so I put my nose in his hand. He patted me kindly, and I left my first home. So that is the Black Beauty. Okay, so dear students, the chapter is in here. I hope you all are very well understand full chapter. So we will meet you the next class. Thank you, everyone.